Now to the latest in the Idaho murder investigations. Defense lawyers for the accused killer are fighting to keep that gag order in place. Brian Kohberger's defense team filed the opposition with the Idaho Supreme Court yesterday. The gag order claims restrictions are needed to protect Kohberger's right to a fair trial due to, quote, twisted media coverage. The move came days after 30 news organizations asked the court to overturn that order. The lawyer for the News Coalition argues the order violates the right to free speech. It also prevents the victims' families from having attorneys speak to the media on their behalf. The attorney for one of the victims' family filed a separate motion to clarify the gag order because they say it's too vague. Meanwhile, we are getting more clarity on what exactly police found when they arrested Kohberger at his parents' Pennsylvania home after authorities unsealed several warrants this week. A Glock 22 handgun with 3 empty magazines, a knife, and black gloves were among the dozens of items taken in connection with the stabbing deaths of those 4 Idaho college students. For a deeper look into what these latest developments mean for the case, we're bringing in former FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer. Jennifer, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Natasha.
Let's start with that gag order, basically barring attorneys, law enforcement agencies, other associated with the case from talking or writing about it. What are the benefits of limiting information surrounding the case to the public? And if the gag order remains, could this actually leave room for misinformation to proliferate?
Well, I think the gag order will stay in place, and I think it's important that it does stay in place. Really, it protects not only Mr. Kohberger and his rights, it also protects the rights of this case being justly coming to fruition for these victims. And what happens when there's a free flow of information from attorneys, from witnesses, from lawyers, it ends up getting tried in the press. And moreover, it also causes a possible tainting of a jury pool. So I think the Supreme Court in Idaho will keep this gag order in place.
Meanwhile, this week, authorities unsealing several warrants that show the items that were seized from Kohberger's family home, including a knife and black clothing. I want to get your initial reaction to some of those items. What are you reading into that? Is there a high probability that these items were directly involved with that night?
Well, I don't think they were directly involved with that night, but they certainly are interesting. We've got a mask, we've got the black covering or cap. We've got those gloves, the knife, the Glock. I call it a kit bag, if you will. Just have seen this type of material before in offenders such as this, and I thought it was very telling. In addition, I thought it was very interesting, and I'm so glad law enforcement took the gas pedal and took the brake pedal and the cushions within his seat so that they can properly be analyzed for possible traces of blood.
I appreciate that, and that is not a detail that immediately came to my mind. Meanwhile, plenty of people do own black gloves or knives. Could these items just be viewed as circumstantial evidence?
Well, they're circumstantial, but look at the person we are looking at. It's somebody who the court has said there's probable cause to believe he's killed these people. When you add it all together and throw it all together, it does have meaning, particularly, of course, the 3 knives, the Glock. There was other information, too. There was a book that had some underlying in it that's very interesting. We don't know exactly why they took that, but obviously they believe it speaks to possible motive. Also, a letter to the father. These are all things that probably are going to speak to his mindset and possible motive. We cannot wait for June to come.
Now, what do you make of the timing of this? Speaking of June, Kohberger not expected back in court until that month. Why unseal those warrants now?
Well, they have to be unsealed by law. Whenever you have a search warrant such as these, you have tight parameters, and it had to be unsealed, and it was unsealed, and I'm glad that they didn't try to keep it sealed and let the public see the kind of evidence that actually is coming forward on Mr. Kohberger.
All right, Jennifer Coffindaffer, always appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.